Well, g'day curd nerds. G'day curd nerds. Well, 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 g'day curd nerds. Welcome to another exciting episode of, what are we? Ask the Cheeseman. And this is number 89. Lovely to see so many people on the chat and on the live stream. Looks like it's all working perfectly, which is good. Some hellos to start with, of course. And hello to Patricia. She was the first off the chat, which is fantastic. The Bluntsmith. Catherine, Drillin, Flinch, I think that's how you say it, Nikki, B, Jeremy, Jeff, who's a member, thanks Jeff, and he's recently relocated from, I think, the US to China. Hope you can get some cheese making stuff over there, mate. Matthew, Kim, of course, who's moderating today. Thank you, Kim, for your skills in moderation. I really appreciate them. Who else we got? We got Larry from Deep South Texas, Boojar, Steve, Patricia and Bluntsmith again, Wilma, Charlie, John, David. What else we got there? Sorry, I skipped behind. Chili Expat family, Irwin, Ms. Savin Grace. David, Bradley, Ricky, and that'll do. So, hello to all those people. Thank you very much for joining the live stream. Really appreciate it. Let's do a bit of housekeeping first. Excuse me. Members this week, big shout out to Richard Miller. Thank you, Richard, for your patronage on YouTube memberships. And thank you to JJ Hepp for your patronage over on Patreon. Those two people are supporting the show financially over on YouTube memberships and Patreon, respectively. The video this week, I've been struggling with cam blue. Now, it's actually more blue than cam at the moment. So I might just release it as a blue cheese video. I'm not sure. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I'm always willing to show my successes as well as my failures. So, always cool. And of course, I hope you've been enjoying the Cheese a Day Challenge. That will continue for the month of February. And then on the 1st of March, we'll have a top 5 and bottom 5 of the month's cheeses. So that'll be cool. I'm really enjoying producing those and recording those on a daily basis. And of course, I'm working on the book, Keep Calm and Make More Cheese. So that's still in motion. And don't forget, if you want to support the show during the show, then there's always the super chat option, which is the little $sign down the bottom of the chat box. I think you can donate as little as $2 US, I think it is. That's the standard throughout the world. And it converts into your currency. So, and you'll light up the curd nerd light in the background and get a little gold star as well. Okay, let's answer the first question. I think we've got one here from Patricia. Patricia says, a question, Gavin. Does humidity have any effect on cheese that has been waxed for aging? Not really, Patricia. There's two schools of thoughts for this. The first one is that you need a decent amount of humidity. So some people say the wax is porous and there is some air exchange. I believe there isn't, because when I've cracked open waxed cheeses before, sometimes, and not very often, there's a little bit of whey in the wax. Now, if it was porous, the whey would have leaked out, wouldn't it? So I would think that there's no exchange between the wax layer and the cheese. So the humidity doesn't have too much effect. However, depends on how dry it is in the conditions you live in. It says you live in Halifax, so it'll be pretty moist most of the time, I would think. As long as the humidity's not really low, because what happens then, the wax can crack because it's too dry. So as long as you don't live in like a desert or something like that, then you should be fine. Okay. Chili Expat says, how cold is it up there? It's not cold at all. It's going to be 33 degrees Celsius today. It's summer here in sunny Melton, where I live. And another question, how long can cheese be stored? How long's a piece of string? As long as you provide the right conditions, the cheese will last, I won't say indefinitely, because it doesn't. The older the cheese, the sharper it gets, the drier it gets. It's all about personal preference. So, I've got cheeses stored in my normal kitchen fridge. They're up to a year old, sometimes even 2. As long as they're vacuum packed, they're usually quite fine. I've never had any issues breaking them out and trying them, so that's never a big deal. So, yeah, it all depends on the type of cheese and the conditions you store them in. Okay. The Bluntsmith says, actually, it's only 33 degrees today. I hang my cheeses off my balcony and they store great. That's excellent. Margaret from New Zealand. G'day, Margaret. And Fierce, what's my favourite cheese? Well, I tend to lean towards the smellier ones, so like blue, any sort of blue are nice. And washed rind cheeses are kind of my favourite at the moment. It's very hard to get a good washed rind cheese here where I live. Supermarkets stock 1 that I've seen, maybe 2, but then they're so mild, you really got to age them longer in your own cheese fridge. That's how mild they are, so a bit crazy. Bradley says, what's my opinion on processed cheese slices? I tend to hate just eating them because they don't taste like cheese. However, in some cases, I find them to be a great, simple grilled, lazy grilled cheese. My personal opinion on processed cheese slices wrapped in plastic is that I also hate them. They are just manufactured rubbish that doesn't deserve the name cheese. In fact, most of them don't have enough cheese in them to actually be called cheese. So, go figure. I don't like them. Steve says, Manchego Iberico up tomorrow. It's perfect. 53 Fahrenheit in my basement these days. Perfect for caving, but too cold for most anything else. That's fantastic. I hope it tastes great, Steve. Holy schnitz. A schitznit, sorry. Do you like dense cheese? Dense cheese? Is it stupid? No, don't understand. The Bluntsmith, says Gavin, how long do you need to age cheese to develop those awesome crystalline texture? Those crystals are calcium lactate and tyrosine, I think. Up to at least 10 months, and it's got to be the right sort of cheese as well. So, yeah, so long aged cheddars, Goudas, what else? Parmesan, Romano, that sort of thing. Well, actually, Parmesan, not so much. Romano, Pecorino Romano, those sort of long-aged hard cheeses tend to develop those crystals more often than not. And I've had them present in a cow's milk Romano, which is Vacino Romano. I had them present in that. Fantastic, tasted lovely. And a piece of Gouda that I aged for 12 months, and that was really, really nice as well. Kabig Horse says, I just discovered your channel. Do you have a video on how to measure or control relative humidity? No, I don't think I do. I actually do have a video on how to mature blue cheese, which is the same sort of thing. I use ripening boxes to do it. So I don't know if Kim could find the video for maturing blue cheese, then that might help. Kevin says, I made cow's milk feta yesterday and it was very soft, almost like tofu consistency. What did I do wrong? I maybe stir longer. That way more whey gets expelled. That's my only suggestion with the information at hand there, Kevin. Ms. Saving Grace, can the Bell Paese be aged longer than 3 months in the ripening box? Yeah, it can, and some more flavour will develop. However, it's a very moist cheese and it tends to attract mould, so you may have a mould problem after the 3 months. So, well, it's actually 3 months? I thought it was 3 weeks. Yeah, it's not that long in the ripening box. Anyway, Chris says, can I make quick mozzarella without lipase and calcium chloride? Are they more for flavour than anything else? The lipase certainly is for more flavour, and that's because when they make buffalo mozzarella, there's a high amount of lipase in the buffalo milk already. As for calcium chloride, you can leave it out if your milk is really good quality. However, if it's pasteurised, homogenised, you won't get a curd set. Not a very good one anyway, so I do recommend putting in the calcium chloride. Calcium chloride is there to make the curd structure stronger because calcium is lost in the milk during pasteurisation. So, okay. Jim says, I have no question. Just wanted to say that I like your channel very much. Thanks for sharing. Blessings from Greece. Thanks, Jim. Appreciate it, mate. Samson Farms. Sorry, not family. Hello, Gavin from Tennessee. Love the channel and knowledge you pass on, especially as a novice home cheese maker. No problems at all. XOX says, hey, Cheeseman, hope you're having a great day, my friend. I am indeed. I'm having a great day. I'm here. That's why I'm having a great day. Jared, hi, Gavin. Thanks for the cheese wisdom. Making my first farmhouse cheddar next week. Will the dry Colorado climate cause any issues I should compensate for? As long as you got in the right conditions for maturation, the air drying period's only a couple of days, so it should be fine and it'll dry out nice and quickly. So I don't think you'll have any issues there, Jared. It'll just probably dry quicker, so just make sure you keep an eye on it. Once it's touch dry, then either wax it or depends on what you're doing. If it's a farmhouse cheddar blue, then you'll obviously need some oxygen for the blue to grow. So, yeah. So, yeah, it should be okay. Make sure you've got your cheese fridge set at the right temperature to mature your cheese. Okay, Nikki says, I made way too much cream cheese. Can I freeze it in Ziploc bags, then vacuum seal them? No, the cream cheese kind of separates when you freeze it, so it's probably not the best. It's the harder cheeses that are okay to freeze. Cream cheese would kind of like split once you've defrosted them, so maybe a bit of an issue. Chris, g'day, Chris. Lovely to see you on the chat. Hi, Gavin. The daily cheese vids are great. Are you going to have quite a store of excess cheese when it's done? Probably not, because I'm only buying about 100 grams of each of the cheese, so the smallest portion I can possibly get. So that's not a problem. After 6 days, yeah, I've got a little bit banked up, so I might have to give some away to family and friends. Whenever they come round, I'll just throw some cheese at them. But we have a little bit of cheese every day. Like I'm having cheese for breakfast every day, which is okay. Everything in moderation, of course. I'm only having a little bit, so that should be fine. But yeah, Chris, I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue. Steve says, how is my Curd Nerd Academy going? I'm glad you asked, Steve. It's going quite well. Um, when I used to teach the physical course, I used to teach 3 cheeses, so paneer, ricotta, and quick mozzarella. So physically in front of 4 students at a time. Um, Rarely do those classes get full. Maybe it's our location, I'm not sure. Um, but I have now, we've had enough, well, not enough. There's always never enough people in the Curd Nerd Academy, but I've had enough people on the course, the online course, that it would have been 2 full years of courses. So I'm very happy with the progress. And I'm updating it all the time. When students have suggestions, I'll add more content into the course. So just always watch. There's new lessons and new videos going up all the time. Don't forget that you can go to the Curd Nerd Academy, which is my beginner's cheese making course. Just go to courses.littlegreenworkshops.com.au, and you'll get whisked away to the Curd Nerd Academy, and there's the course. It's $150 Australian, which is cheap as chips. So if you want to learn how to make cheese making from scratch and can't wait for these weekly sessions to get your answers, all the answers get answered on the course. So it's all pretty cool. And you got access to me to ask questions and all that sort of stuff, as you would a normal teacher. Okay, Chinchilla says, why don't you wrap your bamboo mats with plastic to stop the cheese from sticking? I'd it so the whey can get through easier. Yeah, kind of defeats the purpose. The whey has to drain through the bamboo mats. That's what they're for. So, but good question. Kevin says the cow's milk feta is from your book, is slightly different recipe from your video. Which one is better? I think the video one's better. I'm not sure. I'll have to check the book one. But yeah, the video one's better and it seems to work okay. I think something's only a very slight variation. Veni, vidi, relqui, that's Latin, I presume. What are my favourite cheese for making grilled cheese, sandwiches or toasties? Sorry if you answer this often. I do. I get this often. Look, any strong cheddar's really nice for a toasted grilled cheese sandwich or grilled cheese sandwich. And some of the Dutch cheeses like Gouda, Edam, Marsden, which you would have seen a video on yesterday, so that's really nice cheese as well. Okay, moving right along. Charlie Wilma Charlie says, hi Gav, lots of great cheeses following your recipe. However, I had a big fail with a 6-month-old cheddar, which was quite acidic. Any ideas where I went wrong? Storage was at 12 degrees. Yeah, maybe ease off a little bit on the starter cultures. Acid development. So the cheddaring process, maybe ease off on one of the cheddarings, if that makes sense. And that will reduce the acid as well. So yeah, so that's 2, and maybe too much rennet also holds in too much whey. So maybe ease off a little bit on the rennet and maybe just wait longer for coagulation. So there's some hints. I hope they're okay. Okay, Kevin says, is book 2 ready yet? Unfortunately not, Kevin. It's still going. I've got 6 recipes to write. I've only had 2 recipes to do in the last 2 weeks because I've been doing this cheese making series. So then I got to get it edited. So I got to find an editor to edit it. So that, well, I don't think that'll be an issue, but that'll cost money. So I got to get that edited, and then I'll format it into something that's actually readable, and get it ready for release. Now, I've been working on the pre-order thing. I'm trying to figure out how to do that in my e-commerce software. So you can pay for the book before you get it, type thing. And there's a release date, that sort of thing. But I've been working on that. I haven't got it to work yet, so that's why there's no pre-order page or anything like that. as yet for the book. Okay. Styan says, I think that's how you pronounce it. Been watching some of your vids. Good content. Keep it up. Also, what's the easiest cheese to make for a total noob? Probably paneer or ricotta. Try one of those two. Felicia says, can I age my Oaxaca cheese? For how long? Yeah, you probably could. It's a stretch curd cheese. It'll get better with age. How long? Probably 2 months. I wouldn't go much more than that. And you're going to have to find a way to keep the mold off it. So maybe, yeah, you probably could vacuum pack a Oaxaca ball or two. So that shouldn't be too much of an issue. So you could give that a go. See how that goes, Felicity, and let me know. Should taste quite nice once it gets a bit of culture development. Okay. Chris says, if I make hard cheese, can I wax and age it in the fridge or just a cold room? You can, Chris. Yeah, no problems at all. It just takes longer to develop. So it will probably take 2 or 3 months longer to mature the cheese. XOX says, cheese for breakfast? Indeed. Breakfast of champions, really. So that's good. Felicity says, have I ever tried to age my cheese in oil? What should I do to the oil for the cheese? Should I heat it first? Okay. So yeah, there are a lot of marinated cheeses. In fact, you'll see one in 2 days' time. There will be a marinated goat's cheese that I'm going to try. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, you can do that, no problems at all. So just if you're going to marinate cheese in oil, just make sure that if you choose olive oil, that just be aware it goes solid when it's kept in the fridge. It can go rancid when it's not in the fridge. So when you do marinate your cheese in oil or age your cheese in oil with herbs and spices and stuff like that, do 50% either canola oil or sunflower oil and 50% olive oil. And put your herbs and spices and then your cheese in and poke the herbs and stuff down in there. But mature it in the fridge. Definitely mature it in the fridge, because outside of the fridge it just gets it matures too quickly, and it does taste quite yucky, and I've experienced it myself. So yes, I tried some marinated feta, kept it in the cupboard, and it didn't taste very well. But yeah, I actually haven't done a video on that, so that's a very good idea. Might do a Persian feta, which is basically marinated feta. So yeah, that'll be interesting. Using some goat's milk, I think that'll be nice too. Christo says, milk here in the DC, District of Columbia, maybe, is terrible and only 3.3 milk fat. Can I add heavy cream to compensate to 4%? Thanks for your knowledge. You can, as long as you can add the cream to the milk, as long as it's not ultra pasteurized. So yeah, there you go. Cool. Patricia, I want to make your Leodama, but can't possibly do 14 litres of milk. If I half the recipe, would there be any chance change to the pressing weights or times? Now, the weights and times will be the same. Yeah, and you can half the recipe. So all the stirring times and all that sort of stuff and temperatures will be all the same. But yeah, you can half the recipe, Patricia. No problems at all. Your yield will be significantly less, though. So you saw the size of the cheese that I made. You'll get a quite a small cheese. Okay. NM Rook. G'day, howdy, curd nerds. G'day, curd nerds. Kim, thanks for the link to the course there. Jim says, I put together a cheese cave this month. In your cheese cave, what cheeses do you put in containers and which ones do you just place on the shelf? Jim, I don't put any on the shelf without being protected by the wax or vacuum packing. I find they just gather too many molds. Doesn't matter how clean you keep your cheese fridge, it seems to just get away from itself. And the ones in containers are the ones I want to make a natural rind with, that I can control the temperature and the humidity and all that sort of stuff. So, and bloomy rinds, stuff like camembert and blue cheese and stuff like that, and washed rind cheeses, where they have external ripening bacteria that do get out of control if you let them. Okay, Steve says, glad to hear it's going well. It's awesome how cheese making is taking off. Just about everybody who tries it loves it. It's a great craft to learn and enjoy. Yeah, I totally agree there, Steve. I think that cheese making is becoming quite normal. It's kind of like the new home brewing, if that makes sense. Lots of people are trying it, men and women, which is fantastic to see. So, no, really good. Holy Shiznit says, the cheese that shits... Sorry, the cheese that shits. Sorry about that, folks. The cheese that sits in my fridge is very old. I think it is about 300 years old. I found it sitting in the fridge that was left there when we moved in. Well, I don't think I'd eat it somehow. Cloud Senpai Pie says, will vegetable rennet harden cheese just as well as regular rennet? Yes. Yes, it will, because that's all I use. I only use vegetarian rennet. Okay. Where are we? Rima says, hi. Hi. Kim putting some links. Thank you very much, Kim. Where am I? Is Rima talking in French? Let me just translate that for 1 second. I happen to have Google Translate up here somewhere. And it was in French. And it says, does curd cooking make it acidic? Can I make mozzarella from a cooked dough? Maybe something lost in translation there, but does cooking the curd make it acidic? In cheese making, cooking curd means just heating up the curd to the next target temperature where the starter cultures will actually breed and multiply. So I don't know if the context is right, but cooking curd does make it more acidic because the starter cultures usually like the new temperature you're going to, and it helps to expel more whey as well, which makes the cheese more acidic. Okay, NM Rook says, can you smoke cheese? Can you smoke smoked cheese before aging it, specifically Gruyere? It's better if you cold smoke the cheese after it's finished aging, because the smoke does inhibit some of the starter cultures. So best to smoke after the cheese is mature. And cold smoke only, never hot smoke. If you hot smoke, the cheese will melt. Tiger says, do you plan on making any sweetened cheeses in the future? Getting all my words muddled today. Like with fruits in it, for example. I have in the past. I've made cheeses with cranberries in them. I don't know if I've made cheeses with apricots, no, I can't remember. But yes, I have done some. And there's always a chance I'll do more. Can't promise anything, though. Kevin says, I have some rennet from Vienna, but there's no info on the label. How do I know if it's animal or vegetarian? And how do I know if it's double strength or single strength? Good question, Kevin. That's kind of stumped me. I don't know. Unless you can go to the Vienna website and see what types of rennet they produce, and maybe they'll have a specification sheet. They're supposed to. That's the only suggestion that I've got for you. Okay. Kim gave me the translation. Good on you, Kim. Thanks. I've already done it. Kristen says, excuse me. Hi, Gavin. Do you have a preference in flavour of goat cheese versus sheep cheese? Look, I think they're both unique. And there's a place for both of them. I know certainly that the goat's cheeses that I make are usually on the stronger side, because of the flavour of the goat's milk. And sheep's milk cheese is often creamier because it's got a higher fat content, very high fat content. They're not so much, well, creamier. You look at Roquefort that I tried a couple of days back. I tell you what, that was amazing. Creamiest blue cheese I think I've ever had. So I don't have any preference in flavour. I like all cheeses, as I've said many, many times before. And cow's milk, perfect for making cheese. So they're all good. And they all taste equally as good in their own special different way. Kevin says, several weeks ago, somebody inquired about honey-infused cheese. Is there any further info on that? As I cannot find anything on the web. Funny you should say, no. I cannot find anything on the web as well. So, yeah, some issues trying to find information. I've scoured the cheese forums and all that sort of stuff, Kevin. So, no, can't find anything. Reuben Soph says, I am love cheese. Me too. What you said. Mr. Pearson says, hi, Gav. Hi, Mr. Pearson. Indigo, sure does. Sure does, not sure. Rim says, sir, please, would you like to prepare mozzarella Italian in video with details, please? Yes, I already have done that, and I don't know if Kim's got the the tutorial up. There's a cow's milk mozzarella that I've made, so you can check that out. Stretching and all that good stuff, so try that out. What else do we have? Abd Ben says, can you give me help to make plant to make cheese in Algeria? You're welcome. Huh? Sorry, I didn't translate very well. Don't understand. Mr. Pearson, would you recommend any cheap, easy ways to get started in hard cheese making? Cheap. Easy way, buy a kit. Easy. Got a hard cheese kit right up your alley. You'll be able to make hard cheeses faster than you know. Cheap. If you've got $100 to spare Australian, then that's considered cheap, I suppose, to get into cheese making. You can buy all the ingredients separately, but then it'll actually cost a lot more than what the kit would. Okay. Greg says, hi, Gavin. In your tutoring, how often do you mention maintaining a certain temperature of the milk? 32 degrees. How do you maintain the temperature? Just have the stove on low heat. Kim, if you can bring up the video for heat control during cheese making, there's a video on that somewhere, and that'll help out Greg. Okay. Negro Park Pero says, hello, Gavin. Have you had cheese that is aged less than 3 months? Is the flavour bland? No, there's one cheese in particular that I really love, and it is less than 3 months old. It's about, it's only aged for 3 weeks, and it's called Caerphilly, which is a Welsh cheese. A little bit of a cheddaring process, but I tell you what, it really does have a lot of flavour. So, yeah, that's really, really good. Emil Blaster says, you use a lot of OG chemistry, OG, original gangster chemistry in your recipes. Is it easy to get, or do you have to contact factories? Emil, no, you don't. We sell them. So if you go to, you can go to littlegreencheese.com if you want, or littlegreenworkshops.com.au, and you'll get a link to our store where we sell everything. There are so many cheese-making suppliers throughout the world now. Just Google cheese-making suppliers in your country, and then I'm sure you'll find a shop. They're popping up everywhere. Charles, g'day, Charles. Cheese is simply milk that has gone bad. It's good. So bad, it's good again. That's a great way of looking at it. Indeed it is. J-Man Salem, I think that's how you pronounce it. How is Mexican cheese made? which specific Mexican cheese. There are many of them, and I've made many of them. Somar says, "Hi Gavin, how much cheese do you consume in a day? You're so lucky." Oh, look, I would say less than 50 grams a day. If that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know, but I enjoy it. Igor says, I've got to find it again. Igor, where are you? I'm using microbial rennet, but some of my cheeses end up to be bitter. Do you have any advice on how to make them less bitter? Or should I use less rennet? I'm working with raw milk. Yeah, Igor, so there's a couple of things that make your cheese bitter. Too little culture, and that might not be the case because you're using raw milk. Too much rennet. Not enough salt. Not enough salt is always one that tricks people. It should be salted 2%. Well, it depends on the cheese, of course. Most of the cheeses, the hard to semi-hard cheeses, 2% salt by weight. And that usually gets rid of the bitterness of any too much lactic bacteria activity. So, yeah, so those three things: too much culture or too little culture, too much rennet or maybe too much calcium chloride, because that is quite bitter as well, and not enough salt. So those three things will affect the bitterness of the cheese. If you're working with raw milk, probably use less rennet because it'll set quite well. Indigo says, "Hello, I just wanted to say thank you for your channel and sharing your expertise. I haven't begun cheese making yet, but do you have a preferred starter?" A preferred starter as in the type of cheese that somebody should so there's there is a video called Beginner's Cheeses Without a Cheese Fridge. Kim might be able to find the link to it, so hopefully she may have already done that already. But hopefully she'll pop it in. That'll be great. And a preferred starter as in a way to start. Kits are usually the best. Some people think they're a rip-off. I personally don't, because everything's there and the instructions are there and you don't have to second guess. So that's pretty cool. Patricia says, "Sometimes the curd is so solid that it's hard to cut. The knife chases the mass around the pot and the curd part doesn't work. Does this affect the final cheese?" No, not really. Yes, I do chase the cheese around the pot sometimes too with the curd heart because it's quite firm. Usually it means you got really good milk, and you probably need to ease off a little bit on the rennet, but and maybe you've waited a little bit too long, because milk is seasonal. Well, not standardized milk, but normal milk is seasonal, so that may be some of the issue. But it doesn't affect the final cheese. As long as you stir it for the right amount of time and stuff like that, Patricia, I don't think you'll have too many problems. Kevin says there was a company called Balderson that makes a red wine cheese that is marbled. Do you know how that is done? Yes, I do know how that's done. What they do is once they have finished stirring the curds, what they do is they soak the curds in red wine, keep it warm still, because it won't knit together when you press it otherwise. They leave it in there for about 2 hours, and the red wine soaks into the cubes of curd. And it's usually done with cheddar style cheeses because you can have large cubes before you press them. And then you simply press the cheese, drain off the wine, of course, and then you press the cheese, and that's how you get a marbling effect. Quite easy. Matt says, "Hi Gavin, can I mature cheddar cheese in a vacuum pack? And if so, will it increase the maturation time?" Most of the world's cheeses that aren't made in cheddar or Somerset are matured in vacuum pack. So yeah, go for it. It won't affect the age or anything like that. First Dimension Films says, "I tried to making brie, but I let it sit too long. When I checked, it had huge spores all over it. The next day, it had grown legs and hopped out of the tin. It's now holding my family hostage. Please help. That's cool. Yeah, it does grow mold spores very fast. Sometimes they are long whiskers, and you just pat them down. But yeah, funny, nice. Um, Thanks, Kim, for all the wonderful links you're putting up there. Really appreciate it. Rima has another question, and did Kim translate it? Let's have a look. No, she didn't. Okay, let's do this one myself. Let's have a look. But then if I translate it, how are you supposed to understand it when I'm just speaking English? That may be difficult as well. All right, let's translate this one for Rima. Says, I asked my question differently. Does heating the curd make it elastic? And can I make mozzarella? Yes, you can make mozzarella. Kim's put a link there for how to make real mozzarella at home. And you'll see exactly how the process happened, Rima. It's she did it at 10:03 a.m. if you got your timestamps on. Holy Schnitz says, have you ever experienced the delicacy that is howler monkey cheese? No, I haven't, unfortunately. Obviously not available here. We have another question that is in a language I don't know. And it was translated from Japanese in kind of English. No, it didn't work. It says it was detected Japanese. No, Google Translate won't translate it. Unfortunately. Sorry about that. Ricky says, if my guess about honey containing little, if any, water, you might be able to drizzle honey between the layers of curd between pressing. You might get away with using a short aging time. Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense, Ricky. So that might work. It'll have to be an experiment, either way. Amy says, love, why? Love, why? Nice. Ricky, I'm not entirely sure about this theory. Yeah, no, I agree. Amy says, you. Oh, I love you. Right, thank you. Picture perfect. We all love to make and eat cheese, but admit it, we love to cut it too. Oh, that's being dirty. Thanks for showing us the way of the cheese. No problems. Mr. Pearson, should I use a wine fridge for maturation when starting off hard cheese making? Yeah, wine fridges are pretty good because you can control the temperature of the cheese. The humidity is pretty hard to maintain in a wine fridge. So I recommend you either vac or wax or keep it in maturation boxes, similar to what I do anyway. You shouldn't have too many issues at all. But a wine fridge is pretty good. Just remember it keeps the humidity really low. It sucks all the moisture out of the fridge. Indigo says, yes, thank you. Okay, thanks. Jamie, is that how you pronounce it? Maybe. I made farm cheese, whole milk, vinegar, and salt. Sounds like ricotta to me. Today, you gave me the courage to venture into rennet using cheese. My friends and I have decided we will have a cheese making party. I'll tell you what, that sounds like a great idea. Cheese making parties are great. That's why I used to love teaching hands-on, because it kind of is like a cheese making party. You're all making cheese together. So, yeah, I can't think of anything better to have a cheese party on a weekend, cheese making party. It's just getting all the cooktops. And really, if you're struggling, portable camp stoves are pretty good for that sort of thing as well. Emil Blaster says, how does the mucus start up in really strong soft cheese? Should I help it coming, and if how? Mucus. I think something's lost in translation there. It does the mucus. Nope, don't understand. Maybe you're talking about mold? Does the mold start really... No, don't understand. Sorry. Excelindo. Hello, my name is Dejan. I am from Slovenia. Yep, that's in Europe. And I'm starting to make cheese because of your videos. Oh, well done. I want to thank you for that. I have a farm home, so one new product that I can offer top. So one new product. No problems at all. I hope that helped get you making cheese. Okay. Jamal Salam says, you don't have a video of making Mexican cheese. How do you make it? A simple explanation of any type of Mexican cheese is fine. I do have to contradict you there. I do have Mexican cheese. There are Chihuahua cheese. There is Oaxaca. There is Asadero. So there's 3 cheeses. Go and have a look on the channel. Sinan says, hello, can you make recipes without calcium chloride? Yes, you can if you use raw milk. Amy Selfridge, you are nice. Thank you very much. Indigo, thank you for the link. No problems. Thank Kim. Soma, Gavin, thanks for all your videos. I love to watch it. Feels so relaxing. Thanks, Soma. I try to keep it nice and calm so people can understand it, not get too excited, and just focus on the cheese. That's what it's all about. Igor says, thanks for your answer. No problems. Another one. Do you think I'll be able to make a Parmesan-style cheese with a natural rind using about 15 litres of milk? Any advice on that? Yeah, look, start off with a natural rind, remembering that we make Parmesan a lot smaller than what real Parmesan is made, because they're using like the mold. They're about 60 to 70 kilos, those wheels of Parmesan, and they age it in a particular style and all that sort of stuff. A natural rind in Parmesan, and I've found this the hard way, that it tends to go rock solid over the 10 to 12 month maturation period. So you can get a natural rind for probably the first 2 months, mature it in a ripening box to get it to harden up a little bit, lose some of that moisture. And then after that, I tend to vacuum pack it. So try that. 2 more translators. Kim's translated for me. Renbo Sufu says, cheese makes me strong. Yes, it does. Makes your bones strong. It's full of calcium. It's good stuff. Meal Blaster says, I love your Parmesan video. How did it turn out? I really want to know. There is a taste test, so go and check that out. Taste test video. Perfect Picture Perfect says, what cheese do you dislike eating and making the most? Well, that'll be the cheese that gets released today. If you wait until 8 o'clock tonight, my time, you will see a cheese that I dislike on the Cheese a Day challenge. Excelindo, translated, says, how long should I have cheese in the wine? If you're going to make that wine cheese that I mentioned before, I would say 2 hours in red wine would be enough to impart the colour in the cheese. Sinan says, thanks. Jamie says, thank you for the tip using the portable camp stove. I have one, and my friend has a gas stove on the grill, and you did finally pronounce my name right, Jamie. No problems at all. Jamin Salem says, thank you. I'll search for it. Jamie says, I have a wine fridge we use mostly for alcohol. Using a maturation box, could I use a full-size fridge? I can adjust the temperature. Yeah, sure. No problems at all. As long as you can get it to the temperature that it states in the recipe, then you shouldn't have too many problems. Now, it looks like I've run out of questions. I'm fast today. It's fabulous. Doing well is what I can say. And Danny says cheese. Thank you, Danny. Yes, cheese is the best. So I'm just wondering, are there, I've got a list, a massive, I've actually worked out all the cheeses that I'm going to buy. I've got to go down to the supermarket the next couple of days and pick out a whole bunch of cheeses that may be good or may not be good. So that will be interesting, but I'm not going to seek out artisan cheesemakers just yet. And it's very, not tricky, but I'm trying to balance a fine line between stuff that people can get, well, in Australia anyway, get fairly readily. So I am trying to pick up some of the international brands, which may help other people get that sort of cheese. But yeah, it's difficult. It's a balance between getting readily available cheeses than just artisan cheesemakers here in Victoria anyway. Because I've been getting a lot of emails and comments saying, why don't you go and track down artisan cheesemakers and try their cheese? That's because I wouldn't be able to do a cheese a day challenge because I'd spend more time searching for cheese than I would actually tasting it. So, however, if any artisan cheesemakers are watching in the Victorian state and around my area, then quite happy to try your cheese and give it a taste test after the cheese a day challenge is finished. So that would be cool. Okay, I got some more questions flowing in here, which is fabulous. Let me just catch up. We've got a translation that needs to be done here, I think. Is Google Translate going to work? Test this cheese smell like my pet's butt. Please help me. No, can't help you. JC Cotterill. Hey Gavin, I hope you're well. Love the videos. Thanks, mate. No, I am very well. Seat DeVito. Thank you. Been binge watching your videos. No problems at all. Where are we? Extelindo. I am just low on battery. Searching for my character. Casa. Charger. Okay. Rima. Something about maturation. I'm getting more translations than I care to deal with, actually. What is the maturation? Maturation is the time taken after you've made the cheese to allow the starter cultures to eat more lactic acid and then break down into enzymes that break down then fats and proteins, which make the flavor in your cheese. That's maturation time. Tali says, just popped in to say hi and thanks for the great content. Can't wait for the weather to cool down so I can get cheesing. Yeah, indeed. I'm always wait for a cool weekend so I can make some cheese. That's cool. Wilma Charlie says, a Parmesan I matured for 10 months, vac packed. However, I took it out of the pack to wipe off mold, let the cheese dry in the fridge, and it developed a fantastic crumble and crystal taste. It is fantastic. That sounds really good. Samson Farms, do you recommend a certain press to begin with? Not really. Anything that you can press the cheese to the required pressure is fine. I don't recommend any sort of press. You know, we do sell a press, but it's, you know, if people want to buy it, they buy it. There's so many different ways you can press your cheese, and there's so many different types of presses that you can make yourself, or just weights on top of the cheese. Sometimes the balancing part's a little bit dangerous, but yeah, some people start off just like that. Okay, Patricia says, oh no, Emil, sorry, we've got 6 minutes to go. I'll get through as many as I can. Emil, but if you've got a burning one, don't forget Super Chat's available to get your question forefront so I can read it. Emil Blasted, did any of your friends leave you because of the smell of cheese making? What? I'm thinking about starting myself, so it's important to know. No. People flock to me because of the cheese, not leave. It's a bit of a funny question. Anyway, Patricia, am I planning to make gorgonzola? Yes, it'll be one of the cheeses that I make eventually. But gorgonzola is DOP cheese, so it's protected, so it may be difficult to replicate, because I've seen a recipe and it says take the milk from the first milking and then the second milking, but I don't have any milkings, so that may be difficult. Michael says, hey Gavin, looking to making my first cheese utilising my charcuterie cheese fridge. Any recommendations? No, as long as the temperature's fine, the humidity's fine. But if you're maturing it with things like salami and stuff like that, just be very cautious, because the molds can transfer between the two, and you might get a bad cheese. I would recommend that you don't mature when you've got salamis in there at the same time. Where are we? Seat DeVito says, what about Humboldt Fog? And I think Kim's got a whole bunch of stuff there. Where is it? She said Humboldt Fog is a goat's milk cheese made by the Cypress Grove of Arcata, California in Humboldt County. It's named for the local ocean fog which rolls in from the Humboldt Bay. It's a mold ripened cheese with a central line of edible ash like a Morbier. And that's lovely, but we can't get it here. So unfortunately, I won't be able to try it. Kevin said, besides my own book, can you recommend any other good books on cheese making? Kevin, yeah, I got quite a few cheese making books. There's some by Gianniclis Caldwell that are really good. A couple of books written by her. There's a book by Deborah Amron's Boys called 200 Easy Cheese Making Recipes. That's a good one as well. So there's a couple there. Running out of time, so I can't really answer that any further than that, Kevin. Just check out our website. We've got a whole bunch of cheese making books, and plus my ebook. Chris says, can I use kefir instead of bacterial dry cultures, e.g. in feta making, hard cheese making? Have I tried this? No, I haven't tried this, but yes, you can. There's a book on the subject by David Asher called The Art of Natural Cheese Making. Go and check that out. Ruth, g'day Ruth. Ruth's a member, of course. Hi Gavin. This is a shout out for Kim. Thanks, Kim, for all the work you do. Did you have training in production before, or did you learn from doing this? Thank you both. And Kim says, no training at all. Gavin showed me how. I did show her how. Well done. Okay, we're going to wrap up in a minute, but I got one or two questions to go. Jaman Salam says, the Mexican cheese you've made isn't the same as mine. It's called hot and spicy cheddar with sweet fire chili pepper. Fair enough. Ruth says, I made an amazing parmesan from the book and the parmesan from the video. They are very different. What is the difference, and which do I prefer? Can I put both in the ripening box? Yes, you can, Ruth. The one in the video, well, the recent video anyway, is just a larger cheese. The process is kind of the same. The first one in the book was from the first Parmesan video, because I've made 2 Parmesan videos, and that was a lot smaller batch, and I found that went a lot harder, faster. So the second one with the bigger batch of milk is the preferred one for me, because it doesn't dry out as quickly. Christina says, I make all my cheeses with kefir as a starter. So far, they have all tasted delicious. That's really good. Ruth told Kim she's amazing. She is amazing. How do I get a super chat to send? I can't seem to do it. I'm not sure, Ruth. Yeah, it should be $1 below it. Just press it. Well, I think she's trying to do that. But anyway, Kim's given me the wrap up, so I have to go. Thank you, Kim, for being the producer this week. You've done a sterling effort. All these lovely links. Thank you to all you curd nerds out there watching. I really do appreciate it. We had about 60 at the peak today. 66 people watching the live stream, so fantastic effort. Looks like my little counter doesn't work that well. Got stuck on 51 for some reason, but I'm not sure. Anyway, if you want to buy any cheese making supplies, equipment, or kits, pop over to littlegreenworkshops.com.au. That's the store that Kim and I run. Don't forget you can support us over at Patreon or YouTube memberships. The link's there and it's in the description below. And the little join button should be down below in the video as well. And don't forget the merch. We can get cool merch like this one. Where is it? Keep calm, make cheese. That's the one. Over at teespring.com/store/Cheeseman TV. So all very cool. And yep, you can also buy cool cups like this one, Certified Curd Nerd and the like. Thank you very much for watching. Without your input, there will be no show week on week. I really do appreciate everybody who comes along. Not so fussed on all the translations that I had to do. English is the preferred chat of the channel, so I think I'm going to stick to just English ones from now on, because it kind of distracted from the flow of the show, if that makes sense. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody, and I will see you next time.